Hi, my name is Stella Champone. I'm a junior in majoring in political economy, and I'm going to start out by stating my problem statement that I created for the midterm assignment. So the problem I chose to address focuses on the significant challenge that UC Berkeley students face in developing coherent academic plans, whether that be 2, 3, or 4 years, due to severely limited access to academic advisors. This issue is particularly acute for, but not limited to, undeclared, low-income, first-generation, and/or international students who often need additional or specialized guidance that addresses their situation. It's really important to note that these categories can intersect with one another. For example, a low-income first-generation student. The root cause isn't advisor negligence, but rather a structural problem, that being the university's advising resources are stretched too thin with far too advisors attempting to serve a massive student population of over 40,000 people. And this creates a bottleneck in the academic planning process, leaving many students without the professional guidance that's needed to make informed decisions about their academic trajectories. I will establish an understanding of my midterm problem statement through the lens of systems thinking and cultural historical activity theory. So the systems thinking framework asks, how do larger systems operate in relation to a given problem? And in response to this question, I find 3 systemic root causes to be paramount. The first is funding model misalignment. UC Berkeley's funding model arguably prioritizes research output and enrollment numbers over student support services. And second is organizational structure fragmentation, in which decentralized advising across the university creates inconsistencies and unclear lines of accountability when it comes to advising outcomes. And third is the capacity-demand imbalance, where there is clearly a growing student population without proportional growth in advising resources. And as a global citizen examining UC Berkeley's advising system, I'm engaging with this challenge through a lens of collective responsibility rather than as a subject or consumer of university resources. And for me, this means considering the broader social implications of effective higher education advising, not just my own individual benefit. 2, recognizing my agency to participate in and transform rather than merely consuming services. And 3, approaching the problem with awareness of how educational support structures reflect and perpetuate broader social patterns. And 4, acknowledging my responsibility to advocate for equitable solutions that serve diverse student populations. And unlike a consumer approach that asks, how can this system better serve me, or a subject approach that just accepts the system is fixed, I believe a citizen approach asks, how can we collectively improve the system for the benefit of the whole community? I think this perspective framed my analysis of the 3 systemic issues that I identified. And for my mini-PAR exploration of the solution, for my focus group, I engaged with 2 peers of mine, one, Yabsara, an international student from Ethiopia, and 2, Melina, a low-income first-generation student from LA. Both students are juniors who were able to reflect on their almost complete advising experiences while still remembering their freshman challenges vividly. This selection was intentional because I really wanted to capture experiences from students who navigate university systems from different cultural, socioeconomic, and geographic backgrounds. And so to establish productive dialogue, I structured our conversation with clear phases. We began with personal storytelling, where each participant shared their advising experiences with a particular emphasis on their freshman year. I used active listening techniques, acknowledging each person's unique perspective before transitioning to identifying key concerns that we all had. And by asking focused questions about specific impediments they face with advising services, I was really aiming to surface systemic issues rather than just individual complaints or recounts. And the insights gained were substantial. What I feel emerged was a nuanced understanding of how identity factors create unique advising needs while simultaneously pointing to systemic issues affecting many students. And while we discovered common threads, intersectionality was definitely at play due to our different backgrounds. Yabsara discussed how the letters in science major-specific advisors were unable to address her concerns about how her student visa requirements play a role in potential unforeseen changes to her class schedule, such as a unit minimum, while Melina noted how financial constraints really limited her ability to implement certain advisor recommendations, and her out-of-school commitments created time pressures that made traditional advising hours particularly inaccessible. Our conversations really revealed a critical insight that being effective advising support must address both shared structural problems and identity-specific barriers simultaneously. For example, all of us struggled with advisor availability, but for different reasons. My scheduling conflict differed from Melina's work constraints, or Yabshira's international student orientation conflicts. this intersectionality complexity meant that singular solutions, like simply adding more appointment slots, would help, but wouldn't fully address everyone's needs without considering timing, format, and cultural context. And now moving on to our solution. To address the complex intersection of challenges faced by diverse students, we propose developing an intersectional advising team composed of advisors from varied backgrounds who receive specialized training in identity-specific issues affecting international, first-generation, and economically diverse students. This model would pair students with advisors who understand their unique cultural context and systemic barriers, while also creating collaborative advising spaces where students can access multiple perspectives simultaneously, thereby transforming traditional one-on-one advising into a more holistic approach that acknowledges how different aspects of identity shape educational experiences and needs. And now I'll move on to the last segment of my video, which is exploring changemaker skill sets. So for me, Brene Brown's power with versus power over really shaped my PAR conversational structure. Like I mentioned before, I really wanted to foster an environment where all of our insights were shared in the efforts of working towards a common goal. And Douglas Rushkoff's concept of valuing cooperation over a cutthroat environment also shaped my approach, because the competitive culture at Berkeley is a factor that I think plays into my problem statement. And so I wanted to curate a solution that challenges that norm. And lastly, the weaver role of Deeper Iyer's social change ecosystem is something I also really identified with and so aim to embody. Per our mini PAR solution, we really wanted to establish lines of connectivity through intersectional advisors that can address various needs across communities.